يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة.
If the Zoroastrians, the fire worshippers, are having a feast, and you donate an egg to the feast, you the Muslim, you donate an egg to the feast of the fire worshippers, you will become a kafir. And they complain that I make too much takfir. But I say to them, if so many hypocrites didn't exist in the ummah, I would need to make so much takfir. I'm not worried about making too much takfir. I'm worried that I'm making too little takfir.
Don't rule by Allah's law. Anyone who doesn't rule by Allah's law, they are kafir. Finish. They are kuffar.
Let's now talk about the issue of the rulers, the Muslim rulers. Before we move on, do you agree that in most of the Muslim countries, if not all of them, the rulers are not ruling by the Sharia, in its totality, the law of Allah?
I can't talk about that because I haven't observed all countries. So
you haven't seen. So the majority of the countries. Let's talk about the majority of the countries. You've seen that in many of these Muslim countries, alcohol is permissible. Riba, interest-based banks, is permissible. Rather, the one who takes out an interest-based loan, he is punished if he doesn't pay the interest in the courts that they've set up. This is obviously ruling by other than the Quran and the Sunnah. You would agree with me with that? Okay. Then what about the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah where Allah says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Whoever does not rule by what Allah has sent down, then they are the disbelievers. Surely this then applies to the Muslim rulers that we just agreed are not ruling by what Allah sent down.
Okay, now let's agree on some points. Number one, you kept mentioning the concept of the rulers and the rulers and the rulers, as though you restrict the issue of ruling by other than what Allah sent down only on the rulers. It's like you're restricting it only to them.
Okay, go on, carry on.
What I mean by that is وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. It's not restricted only to the Muslim rulers.
So who else does it apply to?
You and I.
In what sense?
Okay, good. So the ayah says وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. The word man here is general.
Yeah, okay.
And then ma again, which is in there as well, is a general term.
Okay.
So man it means whoever. The ayah says whoever. Isn't that what the translation says?
Yes, whoever.
Whoever. So it's anyone. So great scholars like Ibn Hazm and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, they mentioned that ruling by other than what Allah sent down subhanahu wa ta'ala also refers to your own actions.
So what you're referring to is like Ibn Hazm in his book Al-Fisl, when he says man fa'ala faqad hakam. Whoever does an action, then he is ruled. This is what you're talking about now. Okay, but you'd agree with me that certain terms in the Arabic language have a definition that is zahir, that is apparent. And the apparent definition of ruling is to set legislation, set laws. Then there might be a mu'awwal definition, which is like an interpreted meaning, which might be to commit a sin or something like this. Why are you trying to go towards the mu'awwal meaning and leaving the zahir, leaving the apparent?
The zahir is actually to say that it's everything. Because of the ayah, وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدُهُمْ بِالْأُنْثَى ظَلَّ وَجْهُهُ مُسْوَدًّا وَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ يَتَوَارَى مِنَ الْقَوْمِ مِنْ سُوءِ مَا بُشِّرَ بِهِ أَيُمْسِكُهُ عَلَى هُونٍ أَمْ يَدُسُّهُ فِي التُّرَابِ أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ.
What does that mean, sorry?
Allah is referring to the pre-Islamic era where they buried the girls alive. They buried the girls alive. When they buried the girls alive, Allah Azza wa Jalla referred to their action of burying these young girls alive. Allah said, refer to it as أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. What an evil ruling they were doing. Hukum. So the word hukum is their own wrongdoings was referred to it as well. You see my point?
Okay.
So you can't now restrict it to that meaning. And plus, when we see a term in the Quran, we have to use other verses from the Quran to prove it. So the word hukum is not restricted to just the judging between two people. It's also referring to your own actions.
Okay.
Now that's number one. Number two, let's use the example Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah used. Ibn Taymiyyah used the example of man hakama bayna ithnaini. Anyone who judges between two children. They come to him and they say, uncle, whose handwriting is better? And he goes, unjustly, because he's related to one of them. So the one he's related to, he says, your handwriting is better over the other one. فَقَدْ حَكَمَ بِغَيْرِ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. He's judged by other than what Allah sent down.
Okay.
So the issue of حكم بغير ما أنزل الله, restricting it to the leader, is the first mistake many people fall into.
Okay, but do you understand, using your common sense at the very least, do you understand that there is a difference between someone judging between the handwriting of two children and someone legislating in an entire country that riba is halal, riba is not a sin, it's fine, you can drink alcohol? You got to understand there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, na'am, the sins are not the same. The sins that can always be different, but it's still a sin. You can't take it to kufr. You're right in the sense of saying this sin is bigger than this sin. It's true. Because the number of people who are coming under it is more in number.
Okay.
The people who is oppressing is more in number. There's no denying the fact that this sin is bigger than this sin. Like in what you're talking about is a ta'thim and ta'thim. Sin a sin. But because it's large in number, now automatically becomes kufr. It's a fallacy.
Okay, so you're saying according to this ayah, both of them are still sins.
Now another question, another point I want to bring out the ayah that you just quoted. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Are you saying that you're taking the ayah for it's apparent that you want to say kufr is major?
Yes.
This is the belief of the khawarij. The reason why I say this is the belief of the khawarij is because I just proved to you that your own action is what? Hukum.
Okay.
Anyone who does major sin to you has to be a kafir then. Because you took the ayah out, it's apparent.
So what is it then? If it's Allah says فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ.
So we say that what Ibn Abbas said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Ibn Abbas said, he said, كُفْرٌ دُونَ كُفْرٍ.
Meaning?
It's a kufr before the major kufr.
Is that actually authentically attributed to Ibn Abbas, or is it a statement Tawus?
Ibn Abbas is authentically transmitted to him. The sanad for that hadith is Ibn Jarir al-Tabari narrates it in his tafsir.
Okay.
He brings Hannad ibn Sarri, who he heard it from, and also Ibn Waqi', who both of them heard from Al-Waqi' and then Sufyan, Ma'amar ibn Rashid, Abdullah ibn Tawus, and Tawus ibn Kaysan, and Abdullah ibn Abbas. The sanad here is كالشمس في رابعة النهار. No one weakened this sanad. Over 40 scholars authenticated it. ولذلك Ibn Uthaymin, he said the ones whose hearts are sick are the ones who go and try to weaken it. Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah clearly said that. This had ayah, the only person who has taken it for its apparent and said it's kufr akbar are the khawarij. They're the only ones who said it. They're the only ones who said it. I just want to bring you a consensus.
Okay.
A consensus. Ijma' that ruling by other than what Allah sent down is a major sin. Consensus. There's no difference of opinion.
I've got a consensus that says it's kufr.
I'm going to come to it right now.
Okay, no problem. You give me yours first and I'll give you mine.
Okay, I'll give you mine inshallah. The first consensus is Ibn Abdul Barr. He said, وأجمع العلماء على أن الجور في الحكم من الكبائر لمن تعمد ذلك عالما به. Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah, he says in his Kitab al-Tamheed, the 16th volume, page 358, he says, أجمع العلماء, the scholars are unanimously in agreement. What? على أن الجور, to be oppressive in your leading, meaning other than what Allah sent down.
Yeah.
في الحكم, in your ruling, he said من الكبائر is from the major sins. لمن تعمد به, of course the one who deliberately does it. The one who deliberately does it. عالما به, and he's aware of what he's doing. Ignorance is of course his excuse. So we have this consensus that Ibn Abdul Barr said this is a major sin.